Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
All right, 10 minutes before 11 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. There was a story this morning about a guy here in Florida who bought 100 generators to send over to the Bahamas. You know, we were spared the wrath of that storm. The Bahamas were not spared, and so there was a lot of people putting together supplies, etc. The thing that those generators are going to need is fuel, and I know that a few of you have called to recommend that if we're going to get a generator, that we get one that is powered by propane. Tucker Perkins is on the phone. He's the president and CEO of the Propane Education and Research Council, and he's going to teach us a little bit about that form of fuel. Tucker Perkins, good morning, Tucker. Thank you for being on the show with us today.
Good morning, and it's glad to be here, and I appreciate that introduction about how propane really helps with emergency power, and our hearts and eyes have certainly been glued to the TV as we watch the residents of Florida over the last couple of days.
Yeah, we have a very smart audience, and more than several of them called to tell us that propane was actually safer than the gasoline or the diesel-fueled generators.
Yeah, a lot of people want to talk. I mean, today we're here really to talk about propane in school transportation, where safety is really paramount. And so it's nice that your listeners realize, about how safe propane can be. I mean, what we're learning, though, is that as we really begin to focus on the emissions outside the bus and inside the bus, that safety takes on a whole new meaning when we add clean air and clean emissions and what children are breathing. So I think your residents see it every day in power generation and backup emergency generators, but today we love talking about it in transportation, and transportation of one of our most precious commodities, young children to school.
So can you talk a little bit as if you were talking to the school board themselves, because they would make that decision? Is it an expensive thing to convert a school bus to propane?
Yeah, I think for school systems, it's almost ironic that something so healthy and quiet and good for the children is also good for the school systems. Most school systems will talk to us about saving $3,000 to $5,000 per bus per year.
Wow!
And in Omaha, for example, when they switched to propane in their first year, they said we saved enough money to have 4 new teachers. So I love talking about saving money, whether it's in my own home or in a company. But when you start talking about saving taxpayers' money in a school system, it becomes a real meaningful conversation as we think about hiring more teachers or having better instruction materials just by changing the fuel in our school buses. It's a great transformation, and we're really proud to be a part of it, and we're glad to see Florida really become a good leader in this transformation.
And does our school system have to purchase brand new buses with the new fuel system, or can the buses change out the fuel system they have now from gas to propane?
Well, the answer is they could make that transformation by making changes to the current fuel, but we tend to advocate, because a bus carries such a sensitive cargo, we really advocate for this to be an original equipment solution, and we really like it that the solution is to just replace the aging diesel buses with a more modern fuel and a modern bus, and that way we're guaranteed you get the best benefits of these modern engines, and we also are sure that our cargo is safely protected.
Are there any other parts of the vehicle itself that are affected by use of propane? Does it affect the cooling system, for example?
No, I think the rest of the bus is essentially the same. It's just that the fuel is more modern and is much cleaner. It's cleaner for the community. It's quieter for the bus driver, so the bus driver is much better in control of the bus. And then some of these studies are now beginning to support having children in a cleaner, healthier, quieter bus is a meaningful improvement for how they learn at school.
And do the bus maintenance personnel have to take a course in the new engines that have this new kind of fuel?
Yeah, the mechanics need to be trained in how to work with them. Most of them are used to working with this type of engine. Certainly a training is a part of the program, but a modern diesel bus is so complex as they've tried to meet air emissions requirements with very complex technology. So most mechanics really appreciate the simplicity of these cleaner emissions on a propane bus.
Can you give us some numbers, even if it's a little over our head, maybe some emissions numbers to maybe demonstrate, as simple as possible, I suppose, the cleaner exhaust for a propane vehicle?
Yeah, I think certainly I always try to talk about this in as simple terms as possible. We just did a study with West Virginia University that I think surprised all of us, that one of the emissions, that's nitrogen oxide, or oxides of nitrogen, however you'd like to say it, and it's really an important contributor to smog. It's negative on plant health, and it's really important for children who suffer from childhood asthma or bronchitis. That particular emission is reduced 95% in a propane bus over a diesel bus. The other, perhaps you've seen in a diesel bus or a diesel truck pull away from a stoplight or a bus stop, and you see that cloud of black smoke. Right. That black smoke contains an emission called particulate matter. That particulate matter is known to be a carcinogen, particularly harmful to all lungs, but especially harmful to young lungs. So there are two emissions right there that are materially impacted by using propane. We reduce greatly particulate matter. We reduce greatly this nitrogen oxide. Not only better for the community and their general health, but the health of the child on the bus.
Will insurance rates be affected by this because propane is cleaner and more healthier? Will the cost of insurance go down?
We haven't seen that yet. We haven't heard that, but it certainly makes sense that logically that insurance cost could go down from it. We see a lot of benefits in easier maintenance, better environmental benefits, and now we see this benefit from the Georgia State study that talks about how the children are arriving to school more prepared to learn, are learning and retaining better. So we're never surprised to see new and improved benefits from just giving a chance to ride to school in a quieter, cleaner, healthier bus.
And what is the miles per gallon on a propane bus as opposed to a diesel or a gas?
So most fleet managers will talk about cost per mile, and the cost per mile for a propane bus can be 30 to 50% less than the cost per mile in a diesel bus when you factor in maintenance, fluids, and all the fuels. So it's a very positive story in that we get a cleaner bus, a quieter bus, and yet a bus that saves school systems money.
Okay, my gosh, it sounds like an easy decision to make. I would like, if you could give us information so that anybody listening could learn more. Is there a website they can go to?
Yeah, we created a website really just for parents. It's betterourbuses.com, and it really talks to parents about how to engage in this conversation with other parents and in the school systems about what kind of choices that school system is making for student transportation. So that website is betterourbuses.com. We also have a great website called propane.com, and it really helps people with a broader awareness of how propane is changing transportation, perhaps how propane is helping deliver packages to your home better and cleaner and cheaper. So that's another website for people to use.
All right, betterourbuses.com and propane.com. Tucker Perkins, thank you so much. Really good, useful information. Thank you.
Thanks for having me. I loved being here.
You are welcome. We'll be right back.
Broadcasting from the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
Fox News, I'm Chris Foster. More international aides arrived in the Bahamas